Andy. Chairman, the decision today represents, I have to say, is the end of a journey. As I alluded earlier, is that this has been going on for a good 10 years nearly. It is one of the most important decisions this council has ever made, and the fact that we're debating it in a special meeting of the council is really testament to the significance of the issue. I don't need to tell colleagues that this is a complex and difficult matter. We have certainly heard from those affected by the decision, and that is an issue of some concern, and I suspect the issue is likely to divide opinion amongst members. We resolved in 2010 to award a contract to Amy Sesper for the provision of a long-term waste service. That decision was equally challenging as is today's, but possibly for different reasons. Then it was about a range of issues such as the technology, the location, and the strategy. Those matters are now behind us, and today it's really only about the cost and the financial impact. We adopted a cautious approach in 2010. Achieving a planning permission for any waste facility was the biggest risk, so we split the commercial deal from the financial one with planning in between, as I explained earlier. Once we awarded the contract in 2011, we set Amy Sesper off to get planning permission and asked them to come back when they had done so with a final price. Amy Sesper have done what we have asked of them. They have got a planning permission and they have confirmed what it will cost us to continue with the contract. So it's down to us now. We must now decide if it's still what we want to do. In 2010, we signalled our desire to take control of managing our own waste in North Yorkshire for the long term, from the point of collection to the point of disposal. And we confirmed our acceptance of the mix of technologies being proposed. As I have said, the debate should not be about these issues anymore. The issue now is mainly about cost, affordability, and value for money, and whether the objectives we set out to achieve at the beginning remain the right ones, and are they being met. As then, whatever the decision we make today, it will not be without its critics, but it is a time to face up to responsibilities, and we are at the point of no return, like Bernard. The decision is to continue with the ARP or to start again. Thank you, Bernard. I'll take his question later. We cannot modify the proposal or choose today to do something different. And I think I need to repeat that. We cannot modify the proposal or choose today to do something different. We can simply choose to proceed or to start again. We are nearly 4 years on since the decision in 2010 to award the contract. Things have changed. So it is important we take stock and use the opportunity we have to reaffirm that this contract is the right thing to do. The detailed and comprehensive report explains the main changes that have occurred since 2010 and the predicted costs of carrying on with Allerton Waste Recovery Park compared with an alternative. The report shows that the project does provide value for money over the life of the contract, even taking into account the time value of money and allowing for the key sensitivities. The costs of continuing are also affordable within existing budgets, but it would enable us to release £3.4 million per annum to spend on other priorities. But the benefits of continuing are not just financial. There's a wide range of benefits, Chairman. Not only will it provide local jobs into the economy, not only through long-term jobs, but through construction jobs. It will enable our waste to be used in a very positive and environmentally way, Chairman. We will use it as a fuel to recover energy and produce electricity to meet the needs of a town the size of Harrogate. It will give us flexibility to deal with changes in waste and collection systems through the range of different technologies, and in particular to actually treat over 40,000 tonnes a year of biodegradable waste, in other words, kitchen waste, Chairman. It will enable us to recycle over half our household waste, which is once again a 2020 government target. Significantly improve our green credentials and move the management of waste in North Yorkshire up the waste hierarchy, which I have to say is a principal objective of government. But perhaps most importantly, AWRP enables us to achieve the primary objectives we set early on in the process. to provide long-term security and certainty for management of waste in North Yorkshire, to better manage risks by transferring finance, design and operational risk to a contractor, in other words, the private sector, and to improve environmental performance. Proceeding will cost us more in the short term, and that's something we've never tried to hide. We've always been open and honest with that. But this is all explained in the report. But it needs to be seen as an investment to save, an investment to ensure that we're able to achieve our long-term objectives. It is important to remind ourselves that we didn't set out to deliver the cheapest outcome. And back in 2010, we were very clear in the specification. It was about 60% environmental improvement and 40% cost, because we were responding to the wishes and the demands of our residents to be more environmentally responsible. We wanted long-term reliability and guaranteed performance. We wanted to take control of our own destiny and not to be subject to the vagaries of future price increases, inflation, landfill tax, or might I say, the vagaries of the private sector. What we have got is a known certainty for 25 years. And government accepts these sorts of contracts do have a lifetime of 25 years or more. Much has changed since this project started, but I believe these objectives and the Allerton Waste Recovery Park provides the best opportunity we're going to get to. If we decide not to proceed, then we start again. We will have to reassess our objectives, our priorities, and decide how best to proceed, with all the risk implications that comes with that new start. Whilst it is important that members consider in detail the range of complex issues explained in the report, the decision we face today ultimately boils down to a simple matter of conviction. Do you believe that AWRP represents a good deal that delivers on our objectives? We said from the outset that we wanted to take responsibility for our waste and take a long-term view. I still believe that this is the right thing to do and that proceeding with AWRP is the only responsible course of action. Chairman, before I move the recommendations, I just would like to take this opportunity just to say a few words of thanks, because this has been the end of a long journey. First off, I would like to thank my predecessor, Claire Wood, who I've sat to the other side there and watched Claire many a time taking these arguments through council, was it all the way through to commercial close. Was it Claire took an awful lot of flack and has actually done a tremendous job in doing the research to actually understand the process, the objectives, the outcomes, and has been a tremendous support to this process. I would also like to thank our planning officers for the professionalism and the diligence that they put into this application, because they knew it would be challenged. I also like to thank members of our planning committee, because with it, they dealt with this in a very, very professional and diligent way. So good that in actual fact, their processes of decision-making sustained 2 challenges from calling. And with it, and one of those was a judicial review. So with it, they did an excellent job. But also, Chairman, I would like to thank all the officers involved in this process. And I don't want to name any because there's every chance I'll probably miss somebody. But it's along a whole range of professionalisms around the technical side, the procurement, the finance, the legal, their negotiating skills. And I have to say is that what they've done is present us with some real key objective figures. They have produced us with an excellent report. And I need just to say one thing, because we've heard an awful lot today about the private sector. I think our officers here have done a great deal in destroying the myth that local government officers are somewhat second class to the private sector. And all I would just say is, think of Tesco. And I need to say no more. Was it a premier company? Was it one time somebody said, the government should take the Tesco model as the way to run the country? Well, look where Tesco is today, and I'm a lot poorer for that, I will tell you. So our officers have demonstrated that they are up to the mark, they have the skills, they have the qualities. So when people allude that they manipulate figures, that they aren't qualified to do this, we should put all the figures out to a further test when these officers have engaged with professionals and used their own professional experience and integrity. I have to say is, why would we need to question that? And on that note, Chairman, I would like to move the recommendation.
Thank you very much. A seconder, please. Councillor Don Mackenzie seconded. Have we anyone wishing? Do you want to say a few words, Don?
Order, please, Chair. I wonder if it would be possible for us to, when we're dealing with a 1.3 billion, 400 million pound contract, it seems rather limiting for some people who want to say more than 3 minutes. And you said at the beginning you're going to be very strict, and I think there's a good case for suspending that standing order in view of the size of the contract that we're talking about.
It'll be as it's in the programme, and that's how we're going to run it. Thank you. Don.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'm very happy to second this proposal, and with your permission, I'll say a few words now. Mr. Chairman, yes, I'm happy to second the proposal. We endorse the decision of the Executive, where I am the only Harrogate member, and therefore, geographically at least, if not emotionally, feel pretty close to the decision before us today. Of course, that decision is one of great significance to us all, not least because of the value of the contract which we're about to determine. On the other hand, the challenge of dealing properly with our waste must be taken on, and one thing is for certain, and here I must contradict my friend Linda Potter, we cannot continue to bury our waste under the ground. I certainly do not favour either deferring our decision today. We have already, as my colleague Chris has said, delayed making up our minds for too long. Today is the decision day. And I firmly believe that from where we are now, the best way forward is to vote in favour of the AWRP proposal, which gives us, and more importantly, our taxpayers, the only certain way of dealing with our waste within a budget that we can afford. And at the same time, it gives us long-term protection against inflation and particularly against landfill taxes which are bound to rise from present-day values. I do not buy the argument that because recycling rates are going up, the problem of dealing with the county's waste will lessen. Population increase alone in our county, I think, will cancel out much of any increase in recycling that may take place. And let us not forget also that recent improvements in recycling rates owe much to the increase in Harrogate, my own district, from very, very low levels following the introduction of wheeled bins recently. A plateau is being reached, and in the case of one or two districts, recycling rates have actually dipped. Nor, Mr. Chairman, do I agree with those who argue that we should send our waste to be incinerated or otherwise dealt with elsewhere. Not only would that course of action, I believe, leave us at the mercy of pricing beyond our borders and beyond our control, but I think it also throws up the question as to why we should shirk the responsibility of dealing with our own waste ourselves in our county. Mr. Chairman, I do support the concept of energy from waste in the form of electrical power and heat.
And I just say you've run out of time.
All right. I'll wind up then. I do acknowledge the relentless and determined efforts of our MPs and of our local residents and objectives, but nevertheless, I do not agree with them that we should halt or defer the proposals before us. And that is why, Mr. Chairman, I will again vote for them today, and I urge my colleagues to do the same.
Thank you very much. Got quite a number of requested speakers. So the first one, Richard Cooper. Councillor Richard Cooper, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I've tabled an amendment with officers which they can put in front of you, and I will move that and ask for seconder at your discretion.
All these are to hand out. We're going to pause a minute while these are handed out then, please. Are we ready to go? Is everyone comfortable? So, Councillor Cooper, you've got 5 minutes for your amendment.
Do I have a seconder, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you've got a seconder in Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Councillor Parsons. The motion before members is to defer. And just for those watching the Grand Committee room, my name is Richard Cooper. I'm a Borough Councillor as well as a County Councillor, and I'm the leader of Harrogate Borough Council. I like the executive. I want to make that clear to members before I begin. I'm starting to think that some of them may not appreciate me quite as much as I appreciate them, but I can't help their poor judgment, in that regard at least. And I want to help them, and this amendment is designed to help them. When I say I like them, I don't like them enough to take their word on a £1.4 billion contract or a £728 million contract, more accurately probably, but certainly a £1.4 billion waste project. I think that this needs to be afforded the same scrutiny, this new financial package, that the financial package that we had agreed previously was given. And I cannot see what earthly reason there could be for not allowing backbenchers that opportunity to scrutinise the financial package behind this proposal. We should have a proper audit, and Councillor Metcalfe said that the current financial proposal contract was robust and detailed. It's a 58-page document with about 18 schedules. It was estimated to take about a day and a half to read by an officer of this council when I asked. I also asked how many members had read it. The answer was none. So I actually cannot believe that everyone has read the full document, not the one that was redacted on the website. Let's be clear about that. And I think we should have a backbench group able to do that, and an audit committee is the best way forward. Are we confident about Amy Sesbeth's financing of the new proposal? Are the projections reasonable? We're told this is a 25-year projection. Well, 7 years ago, we didn't know that the economy was about to fall off a cliff. Just 6 or 7 weeks ago, we didn't know that the pound would go into a panic based on an opinion poll about the Scottish referendum result. So with such tight margins on things like international interest rates, on things like inflation. How confident can we be of a 25-year projection? That's why an audit committee should look at this. We need to be confident of the figures just like we were last time when audit looked at it. I'm not asking us to do anything different with this financial package than we did with the previous financial package. I cannot see that that is an unreasonable request for backbenchers to make of the executive. The second point is I believe we need a members' working party. The new package has been rushed through in just a few weeks since it was presented before us. One day before the absolute deadline, it had to be published for the cabinet meeting at which it was presented, the executive meeting. We've extended the long stop date for the contract before. We can do so again. This is probably a lucrative contract on public money for Amy Sesper. They aren't going to run away from it because we say we'd like some months for members, backbenchers, to examine this properly. It is only what we did before. Let us give the same priority to this financial package that we gave the previous one. Why would you not do so? Why would backbenchers not wish to examine it? It seems to me to be one of those things that we should do. And yes, it is all very well to take officers' words for it, and I think our officers are extremely professional. But we're not here just simply to raise our hands at what the officers say. We're here to scrutinise what the officers say, to put it to the test, and then raise our hands if it stands up to that scrutiny. That is what we're here to do. Can we say that as backbench members we've been able to look at this and all the background closely enough to raise our hands today? I don't think we can, but after a members' working party has looked at it, you could all go back to your constituents and say, I can look you in the eye and I know this inside out and I'm supporting it or not supporting it because of. Finally, about the alternatives, the costs are high. There's a £32 million loss against landfill for the first 15 years. Cheaper alternatives available for at least the next 10 years, and the margin of error is small. We're told the alternatives are uncosted, and there's been a soft modelling exercise. If I'm voting to spend £728 million, I don't want a soft modelling exercise, I want hard facts in front of me, and I think it is reasonable to ask for that. So, Chairman, this is a reasonable amendment. It's designed to support the administration and to give confidence to the backbenchers and the public. It's something everyone should be able to get behind. It will not threaten the continuation of the contract if that is what members eventually decide to do. That is just something to bully us into making this decision today and not give it the proper scrutiny that we should give it. So this is something that will either give confidence to the AWRP project or bring forward a better outcome. That to me seems reasonable. That to me seems what we're elected to do, to scrutinise these things properly in the same way we did the previous financial package. So,
Thank
Chairman,
you very much. That's the lights on now.
So, Chairman, I'm on my last sentence. Why not support the amendment? What harm can it do? It can do a lot of good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Parsons, you have seconded the amendment. Do you want to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll speak now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I must urge the Conservative Party... first of all, I like some of the executive, not all of them. So I'm a little bit worse off than you, Councillor Cooper. But I must urge the Conservative Party to take Councillor Metcalfe out as your advert for Conservative Party and policies, because quite frankly, he's rubbished two Tory MPs in here this afternoon, and then he's told us a lovely tale of a Tory council that signs a really ridiculous contract, a Tory minister who doesn't get back to them as promised, and therefore costs the taxpayers of a Tory-controlled council £32 million. So quite frankly, he'd be lovely to advertise your party. However, the reason I'm supporting this deferral is because Councillor Metcalfe said that he responded 6 times yes to Sir Graham Hall, when in fact to question number 2 he responded no. He said that we had looked at all the options put to us, not looked at all the available options, and that is something that we know this council has not done. The fact that we're here today talking about this proposed project again because of the changing circumstances and everything else is absolutely right, but also we should be looking at the alternatives that we previously discovered and discussed and look at how the costings relating to those alternatives have changed as well. We are not making a like-for-like comparison as we did previously. And also, I take the words of Councillor John Watson, who was Deputy Leader of this Council and an executive member that I think that the entire Chamber respected and admired, who voted against the initial decision because this Council had not even gone anywhere near the alternatives that were based in Teesside. You haven't looked at all the alternatives. You've looked at some of them. You haven't come back with correct costings in relation to those alternatives so that we can compare with the bid that we are currently considering, and therefore the process is not right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Gareth Dowd next, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've really got to rise to put to bed a myth that seems to be circulating. And it's suggesting that we have never looked at any alternatives. In fact, we did look at alternatives. The market offered their alternatives, and that method of procurement was, as Councillor Metcalfe explained not too long ago, was scored. Those alternatives did not make the cut. So I think it's quite wrong for Councillor Parsons to mislead this chamber and suggest that alternatives have not been evaluated. They have. And let us not forget, at some point in life...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. That is not what I said. I fully accepted that some alternatives have been looked at, and that Councillor Dowd is misleading Council and making an erroneous statement.
I think that will be up to members to make a judgment on that, Chairman. Secondly, a deferment means one thing. It means to dump. Let's be clear about that. To defer is to dump and to fudge. And again, at some point in life, you've got to take a decision. And in my view, the facts are there, the information's being given, and we've got to man up and come to a conclusion.
Thank you. Councillor Holt. And it was that correct order there, sir?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I don't mind, really. I think I could support this amendment, and I think the Liberal Democrat group will all support the amendment, because it is necessary to go the extra mile on a big contract like that. It's been quite impressive listening to all the speakers and the information they brought forward about the uncertainties in the project, and I know Councillor Metcalfe has gone on at great length to justify and challenge those suggestions, but some of them still remain. I mean, I've got one particular one, and that is about the TECL exemption, the commercial waste issue. We know there's a European ruling, we know it's going to get into British law, but it applies, we can use that to our benefit, and that's a great idea. But it doesn't extend, as far as I can see, to the districts. The districts don't own your waste, so they will be subjected to anti-competitive issues if they don't increase their prices to reflect the costs, the true costs of providing the waste to the incinerator. I mean, I noticed that in Section 4, it actually goes on at great length of how the TECL agreement will help us. But then if you go to Appendix 1 on page 43, it says there is an assumption that commercial waste collected by district councils remains a constant at levels reflected in 2014. And in page 46 is quite a clear indication that to actually make this system work and provide the commercial waste to the incinerator, the costs to the customers of the district councils will have to be raised to actually pay to actually justify the gate fees that are going into the incinerator, well, I shouldn't say incinerator, to the Allerton Recovery Park. We have no guidance in this document about how much that's going to be, whether it's going to be prohibitive, which means that other commercial competitors will come in and take that waste and bid for it, and the waste amounts that are actually, volumes that are actually quoted in the report will actually be maintained. So there is uncertainty, it does need looking at, and yes, I think we can spend the time to do that. We've spent a hell of a lot of time already, I know, but it's not just a case of saying, oh dear, we spent so much time, let's just approve it and get rid of it. It's got to be the right decision, and a little bit more time on it would not go amiss.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Councillor Robert Hazeltine, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman. And firstly, could I thank you for a very enjoyable civic service this past Sunday. Really excellent day. I just wish more members had been there. Chairman, I would ask members to strongly oppose this amendment. As a member of the York and North Yorkshire Waste Partnership for very many years, I've been deeply involved in the evolving policy which has led to the motion to proceed before us today. Personally, I am satisfied that North Yorkshire and the City of York will be best served by confirming our executive's recommendations. Having said that, my long years in local government and public life has made me somewhat cynical. This amendment, to my mind, is a last gasp attempt at wrecking the sound proposals in front of us today. And no doubt it has to be done. But it is even worse than that, Chairman, when you look underneath. It's worse than that. It does seem to me at least to be based in political motivation to bolster support for at least one North Yorkshire MP, perhaps fearing the loss of his seat at next year's general election. Members, democracy demands more of we members than this smokescreen of political ambition and survival. In my 33 years...
Is this relevant to the debate, Chair?
As a member of North Yorkshire County Council and 34 years as a member of the District Council, this decision today is one of the most technical ones I have had to take. But, Chairman, I am confident that the passage of time will prove it to be both right and successful. Members, this amendment does not merit our very serious attention. Procrastination is not only the enemy of time, but the enemy of progress. I think we've all had an email, haven't we, from our colleague member, County Councillor John McCartney from Selby. Selby seems to be mentioned many times in this debate. But John McCartney's email rather well hits the nail on the head. As an independent member of this North Yorkshire County Council, I have no political master, and I would hope that members please oppose this amendment and oppose it strongly.
Thank you very much, Councillor Allerton. Councillor John Clark.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a little concerned as to where the condemned government is getting its advice that's making it into the greenest government ever.
Just some charity money coming in today, isn't there?
Not only is the voice to my left saying it was switched off, she then said she'd swear, but I haven't heard that bit yet, Chair. It isn't green, isn't this approach at all? No way whatsoever. And as for the rigour in which it's been looked at, this whole concept, it's got the rigour of a well-boiled lettuce leaf. It's an absolute disgrace. The executive report, which is what we've got here, I asked 5 questions there. And there isn't an answer out of those 5 questions I asked that stands up. We claim there's 140 incinerators of more than 25 years. When I asked how many there were of those coming from, we don't know. It says in the waste tonnages and other key assumptions, recycling performance is driven by district council projections. There aren't any district council projections. But don't worry about that, it's just a nice key assumption. And that is why we need to look at it further. The York and North Yorkshire Waste Partnership, referred to in here as the partnership, it ought to be looked into by Councillor Les. It really ought to be. It ought to go under his wing, because he sorts partnerships out if they're not happening. This one hasn't got, that's finished his career, this body hasn't got any members on it. This report from this body to the executive was drawn up in 2008-9. So it's not up to date, it's not modern, it's not rigorous. This amendment is a start, and I hope that from it we'll be able to look at it further. And how on earth the executive, even with the commercial wisdom of running the business as he did of Councillor Metcalfe, can make predictions for 30 years into the future. That is impressive. Really impressive. And I think he's absolutely right to thank Councillor Wood for handing this over to him, because he will get the blame for it, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Eric Broadbent, did you put your hand up? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I just really rise to take umbrage on the assertion that this amendment, and I do agree, it's a wrecking amendment, that you're sort of implying that councillors, county councillors, have not looked into this deeply, thoroughly. We've not taken advice. I've spent nothing over the last few weeks, months. I say, you kind of go into years. 4 years previous to this, we had a scrutiny committee looking at incinerators, waste plants. So I take umbrage that I am not qualified to make a decision today, and I certainly cannot support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mike Jordan.
Thank you, Chair. I also cannot support this amendment. We have to deal with this waste. Waste levels will continue to rise. My village alone, Sherburn in Elmet, of 3,000 houses, is set to rise 25%. I think we can fairly therefore predict that waste levels will rise. We need to be in full control of the waste and how we deal with this waste, and the proposal from Councillor Metcalfe and the executive does deal with that, and that would have my support. This amendment certainly does not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got no other speakers on the amendment, so John Blackie, I didn't see your hand. It must be invisible.
Thank you. Last time when I spoke on this back in 2010, I caused a bit of a stir. I can't think why. If I remember, I suggested that at that time they were widening the A1 to 3 lanes either side between Dishforth and Leman Bar. And I suggested one of the reasons why was going to be the queue of refuse vehicles trying to get into Allerton Park to actually drop their load or returning from Allerton Park. There must have been some mileage in that. Now this project is back on the radar screen again because they've decided to extend the 3 lanes all the way up to Scotch Corner. And as leader of Richmondshire District Council, I'm absolutely delighted. It will bring huge economic advantage to the people that I represent. But also, joking apart, if I dare, just think of all those green miles that are being lost and all those carbon emissions that are being created by our refuse freighters trundling down the A1 from points very, very remote from Allerton Park to deliver the waste. When in fact, actually, in many cases, they can just nip over the border and drop it at the alternative facilities that are available. Back in 2010, we had a political assistant then, if you remember, and she did some work. We also had Mike Cockerell, who was an excellent independent county councillor from Filey. Sorry, Sam. And he worked for Your Waste, and he informed us of a ring of incinerators that were coming on stream. In the amount of time I've had, and I have read the report, Richard, by the way, I've done a little bit of research, and quite a few of those have come on stream. Even the report itself acknowledges at 452 on page 12 and recognises that there is now excess capacity in the system for the next 5 to 10 years. So, Richard, I agree with you. You haven't offended me, dear me, no. I agree with you. There is time for deferral because I think we should be thinking again. I think the PFI withdrawals by central government, who after all should know a thing or two about waste recycling, at least you hope so, the PFI withdrawals was a warning siren. Figures through the report, and yes, we've got some very, very, very good officers working on this, including one that came from the counties of the district. They're very, very good officers, but there is far more uncertainty in this report than there was back in 2010.
You wind up, please, Councillor Black.
And austerity means we shouldn't be making a mistake. We can't even afford to cut the grass verges, and here we are spending 1.4 billion. So I will conclude by saying I think, Executive, this is a trophy project. You need to put it to one side, think again, see if it really stacks up. So I'll support the amendment, and I hope that other people will, but I have no confidence that they might.
Councillor David Simister, please. Last speaker, as I know.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, mindful to support the amendment because we do need more time to look at it. We do need time to look at the figures. Sir Richard, the first speaker spoke about 25 years in his marriage. Well, I've got a 25-year mortgage. With my mortgage, I'm allowed to look at it and evaluate it every 2 years. With this contract, you're not. Councillor Metcalfe spoke about the officers. He wouldn't name the officers because he might miss one out. Well, I think he did miss one out, and that's Mystic Meg. Because who can predict what is going to happen? Even in 10 years, Ed Miliband was speaking about 10 years, his plan for the country. 5 years too long. 25 years, impossible to judge what's going on.
Thank you. Councillor Metcalfe, would you like to comment?
A mobile phone, so I'll have no problems there. I'll deal with the comments from Councillor Richard Cooper, who gave us an interesting CV. He's a county councillor, he's also a district councillor, he's also the leader of Harrogate Borough Council, he's also an advisor assistant to the local MP. And I just wonder if he has a personality clash when he sits here today. Is what role is he sitting here and representing? And if that is as a county councillor, then I would have admiration for him. But I think is that, as has been alluded, is that this is nothing more than a wrecking proposal, because Councillor Cooper has made it very, very clear all along is that he is against it, and he's taken Harrogate Borough Council to the state of saying is against it. And that concerns me, because what this actual proposal does, it gives a tremendous amount of benefit for the Harrogate Borough Council area and for its residents. Not only does it create 70 new long-term jobs, it actually creates 400 construction jobs over a 3-year period. It actually enables the waste to be converted as a fuel into renewable energy. And not least, the projection is that, subject to any appeal, that the rateable value of this plant will be somewhere in the region of £1 million. Now, there has been a piece of work done on this, because there is an element of green energy which comes from the AD that is classed as green, and therefore the County Council is entitled to retain that wholly. And that sum comes to the region of £100,000. But the residual of that then is shared through the process of business rates. Somewhere in the region of that, 50% of that goes back to Her Majesty's government, the Treasury. A small proportion goes to North Yorkshire County Council, somewhere in the region of £80,000. And Harrogate Borough gets circa £360,000. No mean sum of money. But there again, there is another twist in this, isn't there? Because Harrogate Borough Council decided to sign its business rates away to the Leeds City region. So therefore, it will technically won't see the benefits of this. Keith Wakefield in Leeds is probably rubbing his hands and thinking, God, I hope this goes ahead, because where's it, Harrogate's going to send me an open cheque. Councillor Cooper says, we've got plenty of time. As I said in my response, it's taken us 10 years to get here. If we have to start again, then we start with a blank sheet of paper. Because to turn around and say we will evaluate what we've got, then clearly it means is that we will have to go to another full tendering exercise. And are we going to go to a full tendering exercise on the basis of what we've already procured? Or is it going to be something else? And was it time will run out? And I have to tell you, post-2020, there will be new regulations, there will be new targets, because the climate change issue is not going to go away. You've only got to look at all those marches around the world over the weekend. It is still a big issue for the people of the world, for the people of the United Kingdom, and certainly for the people of North Yorkshire. If we defer, and so we can have the luxury of elected members going and trawling over the figures as if they haven't had that luxury already, and that we don't take into consideration the professionalism of our officers and the advice that they've given. The fact is that you've got no confidence in your executive to scrutinise those figures as well in the detail that you say. Then it begs the question of why do we need to employ officers in the first place, because it appears that we know best anyhow. With regards to deferment, the bankers could potentially walk away, the deal could be lost, and we'd have to start all over again. And I think that is the ulterior motive of the amendment. Councillor Parsons makes some comment, as is usual, flippant and clever, my position about commenting about Conservative MPs. I am a Conservative, Councillor Parsons, and I make no apology for that. But I am not wedded to my political party in the same way that you were alluding. Doesn't mean to say that my MPs are perfect.
Can you wind up now, please?
I will, Chairman. I would just like to say, Chairman, is that there are two speakers who spoke a great deal. Councillor Heseltine, I think, there's nothing I could add to. And certainly Councillor Broadbent, you have to forgive. Sorry, Eric, I've been on my feet so long, I'm losing it. And you know where I was at the Fire Authority this morning. I do apologise. But, I fully support his comments. It's insulting to the elected member in this chamber is that we are not competent to understand figures and take decisions with it, and I think that's absolutely disgraceful. And I would hope that colleagues vote down the amendment, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We're going straight to the vote now, so we're voting on the amendment. You want a name vote?
Yes, please.
It would need 20 people to stand.
I have no idea, Chair, how many people will stand.
Councillor Dadd?
Mr. Chairman, it was my intention to move a name vote.